Hi everybody. Hi everybody. Alright, I thought I was happy with this view, but I'm not. So, rainwater tanks and heaters and all sorts of jazz, because you know, property life and all. Let's have a view of a pole and the pool instead then, shall we? Fine. Just reorganize it. Wait on. Yes, I'm ready to go live, but hang on, let's just get it organized while I'm on the live. Because, you know, why not just recalibrate? Recalibrate anytime, you know, it's fine. It's fine, because that's exactly what's been going on. Oh my God, the biggest freaking recalibration of my entire freaking life. It's been massive. I'm going to tell you about it. If you don't want to hear it, not live stream for you. It's not the live stream for you. Oh look, you can almost see my tomatoes. Look how freaking lush and thick and beautiful they are. Because you know, I don't really know what I'm doing in the garden. I'm just chucking things in and just seeing what grows, like seeing how much I can grow with it just chucking in. Of course I still water it and tend to it, but overall I'm just chucking stuff in. And I put so many tomato seeds in that now it's like this thick bush, and I don't actually know how to get the tomatoes out from deep inside because there's like so many in there. Oh, anyway, I'm learning lots about how we do gardens and how we don't do gardens. Veggie gardens, that is. And then I see what I've got, and then I always like see other like veggie gardens, and I'm like, oh, this is better than mine. Like I need like full big like trenches and like, you know, these things. So I've just got like these, you know, like these, and I'm like, oh, they're not enough. We always want something more, and we always want something better. Well, I don't know. I always seem to like having good things and then wanting more, because you know, that's always what I want. Happy with what I've got, and then I want more as well. And let's talk about that, because it's a really big thing. So, okay, let me share this live stream and be present with you guys. So in the meantime, say hi, let me know where you're from around the world. Let me know if it's the first time tuning in. Let me share this. I thought I missed my window of opportunity to do a live stream outside today, because this morning I was in the garden and then it became super windy and I was like, well, I ain't live streaming outside. And now it's the wind's dropped off a little bit. So I'm very grateful for that, because I can live stream outside, because, you know, I got a patio heater and stuff. And I'm like, oh, he's so warm. Because it's winter here, even though it's not really a winter compared to some of you guys around the world. Okay, almost done sharing. Proceeds, I meant precedes, autocorrect. Siri, come on now. Oh dear, let me just fix that. Precedes, I meant to check, because precedes means before something. Yes, that's correct. I always like say things and then I'm like, oh, is that the correct grammar? And I'm like, yep. Precedes, not proceeds. Precedes. Okay, I spelled it incorrectly, did I? Precedes. Oh, that's why. Right. Oh no, now what's going on here? Okay. Yeah, always precedes the breakthrough. The breakdown always precedes the breakthrough. Yeah, some technical issue, that's right. Okay, I was wondering what's going on here. Now Facebook's telling me there's some technical issue. All right, I'm getting there. Let me just quickly fix this, because it precedes the breakdown. The breakthrough, I mean. The breakdown always precedes the breakthrough. I'll get there today. I'm actually a little bit nervous about what I'm going to talk about. I think that's why I'm feeling a little bit... whatevers. You're being all weird. I'm not going to fix you right now. Whatever. Precedes the breakthrough is what it meant to say. I've been feeling so weird. Actually, I was feeling all right, and then around lunchtime today, I started feeling really weird. Precedes. I never put proceeds. I did precedes, and did you autocorrect that or something? No, you mustn't have, because it's a total different thing. Okay, I can't touch it. It won't let me fix it, so whatever's. You guys understand that I meant precedes, okay? Oh my goodness. Okay. Hi, Naomi, the Gold Coast, Destiny, hello. Teresa, hello. Please keep my 19-year-old son in my thoughts. Huge. That's huge. There's a lot of loss going on for people at the moment. And then also a lot of abundance, because it just depends which wave you're on. But there's a lot of big things going on for a lot of people. Yeah. Thank you. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Is it Sivrat Nadal? Always lifts my heart seeing your awakened self live. Thank you. I look a little tired. I hope you're resting well. Fuck no, I'm not resting well. Actually, I'm resting. When I sleep, I'm fucking out. I want to say the lack of sleep is probably the piece there. I personally don't think I look tired, to be honest. So, but, you know, it's like tiredness, but it's more like the level of stress has been through the roof. And this is what I really wanted to talk about, because it's actually like, and here comes the fucking wind. You guys know what to do. If it's too windy, you'll let me know, right? We should be pretty protected here. So, you know, like the level of stress for me has been through the roof. And this title of this live stream is like, you know, the breakthrough. What did I say? The breakdown always precedes the precedes. It's an error in the friggin' title and it won't let me edit it at this second in time. The breakdown always precedes the breakthrough. And that's exactly what I've been going through. So, you know, like I almost didn't do this live stream, but I'm like, Hannah, your last two lives were like fucking falling apart and like, you know, like having this big meltdown. Like, and then after I shared all those things on live stream, of course, all the fucking solutions came in. I had people messaging me saying, you know, I can come out to you and, you know, do massage in your home. And then I've hired more help temporarily to help me around the house, and they came one day last week because I only just started, and then they came the next day on Friday, and like all yesterday I felt so different, and I was like, so there's a couple of things that I've had big breakthroughs about, because it's not just like hiring help and then having like, you know, people saying they can come and give me massages and stuff, because out here it's like such a mission, and I just, you know, the thing is like hiring help and having people come to your house and do massages is like a no-brainer of like, hey, here's a solution, right? However, you need to be in a financial position to be able to do that stuff. And, you know, and the biggest thing that's really landed for me in the past like week, when everything, like I shared all that stuff on live stream and how unhappy I've been, or like out here, it's really fucking hard because it's 45 minutes into town and it's like a mission to just go and get a massage or like take care of myself or just go for a walk on the beach or go surfing, which is such a self-care thing for me, right? And it's been really, really hard. And then like getting the puppy, the little white fluff ball, you know, like came in and like shook things up, and like that combined with then like trying to figure out like the doctor telling me my finger needs to be amputated, and then me going to like second and third opinions, and then the other part of my fucking breakdown, I realized like, I think it was on Friday or something, I'm like, I think it was Thursday night actually, because I was like, oh my God, if she comes out to help tomorrow with the house stuff, like personal assistant, like that's really what she's doing. And then I was like, if she comes out, I don't have to drive anywhere tomorrow, which was Thursday night. And on Thursday night, when we got home, I looked at my like dashboard in my car and I'm like, fuck, Hannah, you've done nearly 1,800 Ks in the past 2 weeks. I'm like, no wonder you're fucking exhausted and stressed and all the shit that's been going on. And I'm just like, oh my God, I like had this big fucking breakdown, right? I had this big breakdown, and it was more about like, I want to say I hit a wall, or I was honest with myself, or like whatever the story is, right? Like being able to like, with what I voiced on my last live streams, that I was like, you know, like I haven't shared like that for a long time. And, you know, it's like, it's being real. Like I want to say I've hidden away parts of myself, and you know what that is? It's like, I have really, I want to say like I felt really shameful about where I've been in my life. Like that's been the biggest thing coming up for me in the past, like, I don't know, probably since I've been living out here actually. Like living out here has like sort of, I want to say, forced me and or made me like look at this shame that I've felt about my life, like not good enough, you know, like single mom, like this is, you know, like going back at the start of building my business, right? Like five years ago. So I say start building my business. So I registered Reality Awareness as a sole trader company in 2009. I've been doing this spiritual work since 2005. So I've been doing it a long time. But when I say when I started my business, that means online. I started working online in 2016. So, you know, in the whole like entrepreneurship online journey has been the most exponential growth that I've ever freaking gone through in my entire life, right? Well, maybe apart from being pregnant and not having anyone around and doing that all on myself as well, all on my own. And like the biggest piece about it is like, you know, as a single mother, building business, homeschooling a daughter, not having any family around, like, you know, I've just been like in go mode, and being able to like, you know, make it all happen. You know, you just do what you need to do. Like you just make it happen. You just do what you need to do, right? And then like coming out here and living out here has been so like contrast, in a sense of like, I want to say I've had to face stuff, meaning like I haven't had my normal resources. And I talk about this all the time, right? Like the surfing got taken away, the beach got taken away, this got taken away, going for a quick massage got taken away because I live freaking out in the middle of nowhere. And it's like what actually sort of happened with the breakdown was like, you know, and I'd started to realize it a little bit, is that I can do everything. I can hold it all together. I can look after the pool. I can now look after a puppy. I can do all these things. But the thing that like hit me when the puppy came was like, I can do everything. However, I can't take care of myself. I can't take care of myself in the capacity that I know I need to thrive, and my creativity is there, and like all the things, right? Like that's really the sort of pivotal point. And I've been feeling a lot of shame in my life because, you know, I'm like, how can I be at this point in my life? And my age has been coming up a fair bit as well, like in a sense that I'm 37 and a half. I turned 38 in September. And, you know, it's like I should be further along in my business by now. Like, why aren't I there yet? Blah, blah, blah. But when I look at actually where the fuck I am, like I had a 100K month last month, right? And, well, it was like 96 or 98K. Like, I can't remember off the top of my head. But it was like, I'm like, it was 100K. Like, that's in the 100K frequency bandwidth, right? And I was like, Hannah, like, it was almost like I had to, like, stop to look at it or something. And, you know, and even before then, like I started buying furniture for my house, and that was part of the shame. I was like, you know, like trying to, it's funny because like I've looked at all these patterns, so to speak, or they've been in my face, because I'm like, I need the beach, I need this, I need that for self-care, right? Like when we look at what made me have the breakdown, is because my self-care is not there. Now, I've been in a place where I've put everything into my business for the past 5.5 years, 6 years now, but the past sort of 5 years, the past year I've been doing more for me because I'm like, oh, I can do stuff for me now, like buy clothes for me. And like, oh, I can buy makeup for me, like the makeup and get facials and stuff. Oh, I can get my eyebrows tattooed. Like, oh, I can do these things for me, rather than like building my business and every single cent going back into my business and just, you know, what we need to do to survive, so to speak. and to also provide for my daughter the lifestyle that, you know, I didn't want her going through what I went through growing up, right? So it's like everything has been going back into my business. And, you know, this last year, like I started to go, oh, I can actually spend money on myself other than just my business, right? And so I've been doing that. And then, like I said, just in the last 2 weeks, like I hit this wall and I hit this breakdown. And I was like, you know, because whilst like getting my eyebrows tattooed and being able to get facials and buy some new clothes that are not like came up $5 clothes or whatever, like, you know, it's like whilst that stuff fulfilled me and sustained me, what also has shifted in me is like, it's almost like that level of self-care wasn't enough anymore. And the thing is with, you know, where I used to live and being able to go surfing or go to the beach and stuff, that was a level of self-care, and it still is today. But all these years I've lived in an empty house. And I know I touched on this in the last live stream as well, right? And it's funny because in our last place we didn't have a couch, and you know, for a yogi that's not a drama. Like we just roll out our yoga mat and we sit on the floor and we do like all this space for yoga. Like we don't care. Like I've never really cared about it. But just like, you know, and then we had the beach and we could just go for a walk or we could just go to bed. Like it wasn't like a thing to not have a couch, right? But out here, whilst we've been here for almost 2 years now and not having a couch still wasn't an issue, right? Only until recently, it was like, the house is fucking empty. I'm so, you know, and I'm like, oh, well, we need to move closer to the beach because that's the solution, right? Because that's a self-care thing, that's the solution. Whilst that could be an avenue and a solution, a deeper understanding of it was that, you know, when I started to do it, I was like, well, if we move to that house, we've still got an empty house. There's still no furniture. Like, well, we'll, you know, and then I was like, okay. And then sort of look at other houses and I was like, well, it'd still be an empty house because we don't have a couch. Like, do you know what I mean? So we're like, it wasn't really the issue of the house. It was the fact that we didn't have a couch. Now, like I said, for years, this hasn't worried me, because I was doing whatever I needed to do to get where I wanted to go. I was doing whatever I was guided to do by my soul to be able to get where we want to go, and build what I want to build, right? And, you know, create the empire to change the consciousness of the world. And, you know, and I've just done whatever I've needed to do. But in this, like, you know, even before the 100K month, like I'd already started to get furniture. I was like, oh, and so we've been, and if you've been watching my stories, I've been sharing a bit on there. So last week, the furniture arrived, like in this last week, right? And I think it was like a day or two before it arrived is when I did that live stream, and I was just like breaking down. I was like, I'm at my breaking point, we need to move, this is not okay, like blah, blah, blah. And then all the furniture arrived. And honestly, like I've been breaking down fucking with the furniture arriving because I'm like putting it all together. I'm like, nah, this is like so much work. And, you know, and it's really pulled me, having a puppy and then all this furniture has really pulled me, I want to say, out of my business. But it's more like life is showing me to do life. Life is showing me that my business still runs. I still have income. It's like sustaining itself. Even when I do life, I'm like, wow, that's like huge, right? I'm like, to actually have a business, like, of course I still need to turn up and do work. Like, it's not, you know, that I don't do those things, but it's like to realize that I don't have to be glued to my computer 24/7 to run my business is also like a huge shift. Like I said at the start of this live stream, like the recalibration that is happening right now is like the dreams coming true out of the visualizing and all the journaling I've done over the years to like it actually landing, right? So now we don't just have one couch, we have 2 couches, and then we have 2 armchairs in another room, because there's lots of little rooms in these old Queenslander houses. Lots of little like sections, and so we've got like all these little sections set up. So we just got to wait for the dining table to come this week, and an outdoor dining table and chairs like here, like I've already picked it out. So that's coming too. And then these chairs will go around the pool, and then I'm getting 2 sun lounger pool chairs as well. So there's still a little bit more to come, but like, you know, new appliances like washing machine, dryer, like that's a bit of a godsend that we've had, you know, through this time of like all the rain and the humidity and stuff here where I live in Queensland, Australia. it's been insane with the level of rain and mold, and just like, I'm like, thank fuck for a dryer. Like, what would I have done without a dryer? But the fact that I can just go and buy a new fridge or a new appliance, or, you know, like, you know, a freezer, because out here it's like you have to buy in bulk, so you need to like learn to be able to do a massive shop. And even that in the start was a huge adjustment, right? Like living in town, you know, like spend like maybe 100, 250, 300 a week on food, right? To doing a food shop, stocking up if you need to get more on a particular week. When you live out here, like I'm spending a good $500 to $800 a week when we do, not a week, like when we do a shop, right? It's not like I do that every single week, because like you have to drive fucking 10 hours to go to the shop. So you need to buy in bulk, like, and you know, and we've done that for a while before even all the furniture stuff. And like when we've gone shopping, it's kind of like, wow, well, you know, like 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been in a position where I would be able to even live out here, because I wouldn't have had the capacity financially to go and do a massive like food shop like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know, as much as I feel stuck out here, it's also, you know, like I'm also learning and training myself to be grateful for being here. I mean, like, look at the fucking view that I've got, like down through the valley, and my beautiful pool and the beautiful sunsets, and every window outside of my house I'm looking at green. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm very conscious of that, but there's been this emptiness, and it's been the furniture and the deeper aspect of it that's been fucking like, that's the breakdown for me. The breakdown for me. So I was nervous to talk about this on live stream today. Did you see the side of my live stream? Because I was very, I don't know if distracted was the word. I'm nervous to talk about this because this is probably part of the shame. I reckon this is probably part of the shame of that's healing on such a deep level right now, is the fact that so what are we now? June, so July, August, September. So in 3 months' time, in 3 months' time, 3 months, in 3 months I turned 38. That means that it has been 20 years that I have been living on the other side of Australia, away from my family. So when I was 18, I left Perth and I drove across Australia with my boyfriend at the time, and I left home and I never went back. And I have lived here on the other side of Australia for 20 years. Now, someone might be like, oh yeah, whatever, Hannah. Like, yep, that's a long time, like whatever's. And I was thinking about it earlier today as well, and even yesterday when I was just doing house stuff, because like now the house feels like a home. Like, you know, I've chosen, well, I love the furniture that I've chosen. It's all brand new. Like, you know, for so long I could have bought secondhand furniture, but it just makes me feel sick. So I went without. That was a choice. We had the beach, we had the gym, we had all these things to do. Like, it wasn't an issue. Whereas out here, it's a bit more in my face. Like, you know, I just want to sit down on the couch and relax it sometimes. And like, now we can. And we're like, oh my God, like we've got a couch. Like we're still walking in the room going like, wow, check this out, right? And we've got more than one couch. It's exciting, but it's beautiful. And, you know, and a thing about the dog attack as well is that I didn't want to go in my office. And it took me a little while to realize that I was traumatized sitting in that room, in that office. And so I rearranged the furniture, and I bought new office furniture and my office couch, my live stream couch and stuff. And then after a while that didn't feel right. You know, it was just like, oh, like I couldn't just be in that room. So I changed my office, because there's lots of beautiful rooms in this house. So I changed office house. I changed room, office room in this house. And it feels more, you know, I love it in there now, but it's like, all these little things, you know, like the shame that has come up is that I think the thing that's been in my face or something, I don't know how to describe it. It's like, how have I been surviving, coping, living? How have I been facing reality? How have I been just, how have I done it this long without family around? Like, and over the years, you know, over the years, and it's probably not been to, it's just out here, because there's nothing to distract me out here. There's no ocean, there's no walking the suburbs, there's no coffee shops, there's no shop, like there's nothing. And it's been since I've been out here that it's been like, how have I done this long without family? And 14 years of that I've raised my daughter on my own. Yes, all by choice. This is not a victim story. This is a reality check of like, how the fuck have I done that? How the fuck have I coped? How the fuck have I, you know, like over the years, I don't know if you can hear that noise. My dog just decided to start eating her dinner, her biscuits. So, you know, like how have I, like, do you know what I mean? Like I'm still in shock about it. Can you tell? It's like, oh, and I think it's like been the thing that's hurt me the most is like, I didn't know what to do with it. You know, like when I got in the car and left home at 18, it was because everyone was on my case, you know, like you can't just work in a pet shop for the rest of your life. Like, you know, what are you going to do with your life? You've got to go to uni or something because, you know, you've got to amount to something. Pet shop's not good enough. Like, you know what I mean? And then I think that's like another subconscious layer where I look around my house and it's empty, but it looks like a pet shop. I was saying that to a client the other day. I'm like, we're getting a couch soon. It doesn't have to look like a pet shop anymore. And so it's such a big thing because, fuck, I knew this live stream, I didn't want to do it. I knew that. That's why I broke down before the furniture came. And I think deep down I knew that. Like I haven't ever had furniture in a house. Like when I used to live in my house, I used to live in my bedroom, like before I left home at 18, because, you know, like the rest of the family took it up and I was the responsible one who had to bath the kids and get dinners and do the dishes and all sorts of shit, right? And so I feel like, and this is part of the shame, like I feel like I've been wandering around lost for all these years trying to find my place in the world because I haven't had family since like when I left when I was 18, and the like, you know, preceding years before that. You know, I was smoking weed every day and I'd get home from high school and I would get the dog and I would go to my mate's house and we'd smoke bongs until midnight and I'd walk the dog home and I'd heat up the dinner in the microwave and I would go to bed and I would get up and I'd leave at 7:30 to go to school and smoke bongs in the like bush to go before school because of fucking being at home. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that was my life before I left home at 18. And it's like, you know, being out here has like made me really reflect on that and how I've never had furniture. I've never done that. You know, number one, I've never been in a position to do that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and that's the thing over the past, you know, 6 years of building my business online has been to fucking make a life for myself because, you know, like I've just been wondering, but then also for my daughter, I'm like, I don't want her fucking going through what I went through. Like, I don't, you know, I want to live in abundance. I want to live in, you know, like joy and have freedom. Freedom is so fucking important to me. Like, I want to be able to like book a ticket to go to Sydney or Melbourne to go shopping for dinner, like, because I fucking want to. Like, that's been the level of freedom of a big reason of why I want to do this. And that might not be important to anyone. I don't really care what's important to you. Like, this live stream's about me, right? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, and it's like about, you know, and the whole thing about luxury and super yachts and all this sort of thing, like being a multi-billionaire, like that's always been in my vision. With what I'm creating in the world, it's not just, oh, so I can be a billionaire. Like, it's a byproduct of what I know I'm here to do in the world. You know, some people are like, oh, I just want to like, you know, be happy and create a life I love. And I'm like, yeah, well, I've always known I'm going to change the fucking world. And that's just my reality. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, when I really look at the life that I've lived and what I've gone through, and like I've been here for 20 years without family, like that's been like a huge thing. And a big thing after the dog attack as well, like what shifted, you know, like on such a deep level, and it was such a reflection time because obviously I couldn't fucking move after the dog attack, right? For almost 2 months, sitting there just like thinking and, you know, thinking more than what my normal analytical, like figuring everything out brain already does, highly connected to fucking spirit and the ADD, like attention dialed into a higher dimensions, you know, stuff. Like, if you know, you know what I'm talking about, right? If you know what I'm talking about. And the biggest thing is that like, it made me reflect or made me realize, because like over these 20 years, like even before I had my daughter, I was like, was mainly before my daughter, but like how I had like surrogate families in a way, and how I would like try and like, I didn't know I was doing it, of course. I only realized this like a couple of months ago, because I want to say I fell out with them all. It's not, I didn't like fall out with them all. It's just like, I didn't like, just didn't hang out with them anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? But it's like all these different families over all the years. It was like I tried to, it was like a surrogate mum, and I'd be part of their family and their family gatherings and all the thing, and then I just wouldn't be part of it. Like something would happen, but it would just be like, oh, it just doesn't resonate anymore. I got the hint, nudge, nudge, or, you know, and then it was just like the rejection all over again. And it's like I've been trying to like have all these surrogate families, and then maybe the past, I don't think, probably the past 5 years I haven't done that. You know, and that whole saying of like blood's thicker than water and all this sort of shit, like that's always been a gut wrencher over the years, you know, when people would be like, you know, whatever's. And this whole recalibration, and I said it on the last live stream, like someone had said to, you know, on the live stream, they're like, oh, you just need a man. And I'm like, yeah, nah, not when my life's in the shambles like this, not when it's empty. You know, it's like, I want to be happy and fulfilled within myself and stable in my own life and business and everything before I'm willing to like step out and do that. And my first most like, you know, priority right now is also like being with my daughter, because, you know, like I built this business so that we could have fun and freedom. And it's like, we're at a place where we can actually fucking do that, you know. And the whole thing about all the shame and everything that's come up lately, and because like, you know, so like with my finger, the doctor said, you know, like I couldn't move it I haven't moved it for 6 months, right? Because they said it's still broken, don't move it. We want to do second surgery and put like a plate and 2 screws. And then like 5 weeks later, they're like, oh no, we need to amputate. And I'm like, hang on a sec. So also whilst I've been going through this huge home recalibration, like healing shame, like my whole life shift, there's also been this. But when you look at this and like the metaphysical book, it's all about family or something, and I'm like, well, so because I haven't moved it for 6 months, and now like, you know, with the third opinion that I'm, you know, I don't want to get it amputated, so I'm like, okay, let me just get some external help and independent help. Jazz, Malia, that's enough. Come on. Malia's just, the fluff ball is sitting there biting Jasmine. Jasmine's just like, really? You know, and it's like, so now I've started doing physio on it, and it's like rock hard and needing to like try and move it after all this time. The fucking pain that's coming out of that, it's like, you know, like when I'm like really pushing in, and obviously I've got like clairvoyant eyes and doing all the healing work and stuff in it as well. Jazz, can you get up, please? Come on, get up. And so like all of this that's coming out, like it's just like visions of like the dog attack, and then like deeper memories of, you know, like just the pain of being on my own. And it's not like a relationship own, like, oh, I want a man, like not that. It's like family own, like, you know, it's like I've been like, how the fuck have I done 20 years away from my family? And when I look at what I've been through and gone through and learnt through and grown through, and then what I've fucking built over the past 5 years, I'm just like, Jesus, you know. And it's really like letting myself receive who I am, and letting myself receive and reflect on actually what the fuck I've done, and like, you know, like where I'm at now. And the biggest thing is like, you know, like I remember, was it 3 years ago, I couldn't even buy myself a pair of jeans, right? And then the next winter I could buy myself a pair of jeans and a jumper. And then, you know, like, and then like this year I went and bought 2 pairs of jeans and I didn't even blink an eye. And then I just went and bought 2 belts to like match it. And then like I've just, like I've had not even, like we went to the hairdresser and don't even have to check the bank account before we like pay for it. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's the little things like that that have just been like, and it's like, oh, you know, look, I can just like buy a new fridge, you know. And the biggest thing is like, we used to have a couch, but the couch back then was also part of the leaving the domestic violence relationship. And, you know, and same with the fridge and stuff actually. And now it's like, wow, I'm actually putting in my energy and my things, and like, look what I've, like, it's all me now. And it's like I'm not running. Like the first thing that came up when I moved out here, like after several months, if you've been following me for a couple of years, it was like, you know, it was like, who am I without my trauma? And, you know, and the realization that I'd been running my whole life from trauma and running, you know, when I was 18, I left, you know, an emotionally abusive household. And, you know, it's like, you know, all that stuff that I went through in high school, and just, you know, it's just like out of there, and then just sort of wandering and wondering, you know, who I am in the world, or where I am, or trying to place myself into other, you know, like families, you know, and it's kind of like, you know, and then you know, the biggest shift of being out here on this property, it's been hard as fuck. It's been hard as fuck. But it's been showing me not how much I can do and how much I can handle, and, you know, like I'm very aware of what I can do and how much I can handle, but it's actually been showing me that I don't need to run anymore, that I'm safe, that I've created safety in here and now out there, and that my home, for the first time in my life, I have a home. You know, when I got in my car in 2020 and we went, you know, for the lockdowns and stuff, and I'm like, I'm not fucking staying in suburbia being locked down for COVID. It's not happening. So we packed up everything in the shipping container and went on a road trip with our 2 dogs and our 2 cats and our bird at the time. And sorry, I didn't bring any tissues out. And it was like, yeah, to get out of suburbia for all that. But do you know what the deeper thing was? Is like, we were looking where we were to live. It was like, where am I meant to be? Where are we meant to be? Like, we'd been trying for 2 years to like find a home on the Sunshine Coast, and we couldn't. Like, every rental we got denied. Was it because I had animals? Was it because I had a single mom and then I had a business? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just, you know, a bit like what I've experienced lately. But now I know that I'm meant to just stop and just be here, right? And it's like, we were looking for our home. And I remember being down in Victoria, and it was like the hardest thing ever as well down there with what I went through. And if you've followed me through that journey, you know what I'm talking about. But I remember going to like the health food shop because I needed new deodorant, right? And I went to the health food shop down there and found this deodorant. And then it turns out I get home at Victoria, at the home place we were staying at, and I don't know, at some point I looked at the bottle, like, of actually what I bought, and I was like, Noosa Basics. It was actually like, you know, made in Noosa on Queensland, like, you know, and I'm like, oh, and the first thing that came to my head, I was like, that's my home. Like, you know, because I'd lived on the Sunshine Coast, like, for, you know, what, 18 years by then. And, you know, it's like, when I look at the journey we've been on to end up here, and now I've actually turned my house into a home with our couches. Like, it's full of furniture now. Like, I want to get a treadmill, and I'm like, where am I going to put the treadmill? There's no room now because we have furniture everywhere. Like, every room is like beautiful furniture and cowskin rugs and beautiful rugs and cushions and like minky blankets, and, you know, like, just things that make it home. And, you know, it's like, I want to say I've arrived. The other like big layer to this is that I think it's been quite hard in the past few months or something, because all the journaling and mindset and expanding into the version of me who, you know, is a multi-millionaire, multi-billionaire, running, you know, an empire, changing the world. That woman has a home full of furniture. You know, it wasn't like a conscious, like, oh, I need to get furniture because that woman has it. It's like, I've got furniture, and I'm like, fuck. No wonder it's been so hard. No wonder I've been struggling to work or be in my creative flow. You know, like, sure, I don't have the beach, I don't have surfing. That's where I got my creative flow from, to work and channel all these amazing things, right? And whilst all that's recalibrated and changed, it's also stepped into a place of like, that version of me who is a successful author and has multiple books and has, you know, an online company that you know, training and education company that, you know, trains intuitive healers and life purpose mentors certified around the world. And then, you know, like the offshoot of that is like, you know, other teachers, like I've got right now, which has only happened in the past 3 months, there's 2 mentors that are mentoring my students as I'm teaching the course. They're also doing one-on-one mentoring with those students. Like that's such a depth of an aspect of my empire that is like such a structure that is like the big picture vision that's all of a sudden just happened. And number one, if you're building an empire or you have a big vision, it doesn't happen overnight. Like this is 6 years where everything's just sort of landed after like visioning it and journaling and holding the line and fucking everyone else off who told me to go and get a normal job. Like, do you know what I mean? Like people don't understand your vision because we're so highly tapped in. We're so connected, right? And that version of me doesn't not have furniture or a house that functions. Like I'm a Virgo, I'm such a practical gal, right? But at the same time, it's like I've done whatever I needed to do to get where I need to go. Because as a single mom on the pension, back when I began my online business, right? And I was online, so 2016, so May 2019 is when, no, it was, I think it was May 2019 was when I got my car, my V8 that allowed us to, you know, go. And when I, it was what was it, February? I couldn't think of the blooming month. I could see it and feel it. It was like February. So February 2019 is when I changed reality awareness from a sole trader to a company. And I had my biggest month at the time, which was 25K. I think it was about 22K or something like that. I had my biggest month ever. I was like, right. And I'd been waiting for that day. And I like raced to Centrelink and I'm like, take me off the system. And they're like, oh, but you're still entitled to like the single parent payment or something. And I'm like, no, remove me from the system. Remove me from the system, please. Like, you know, and it was like such a change. I was just like, oh, so from February 2019, I've been like, reality awareness has been fully supporting us. Like, you know, like, and it's not like an achievement that I'm like boasting about, but I'm also like, look what the fuck you've done and look how long you've been supporting yourself. And you know, and it's like, and even after that change, it's like in the last year I've started to realize that the company is at a level where I can actually start buying clothes and stuff or buying the makeup I want, or you know, and now it's like, now we can just like, you know, drop however much and buy a new fridge or buy a new furniture. And it's like, oh. And this whole recalibration, like now the house is starting to fill up. About another like, you know, week or so I reckon it'll be done. Well, by the time I sort it all out, you know, whatever, maybe a bit longer, but it's like it's here now. And, you know, and the funny thing is that like, you know, this week's been like sort of putting it together, and then like I was going to work yesterday, and then after like this week that I've had, the last 2 weeks and the breakdown and stuff, and I've been like, nah, not working like yesterday. And I'm like, we're going to the beach. We took our puppy to the beach for the first time and whatever, but took a day off. And that's the other recalibration, by the way, is that I'm not working as much and the company is earning more and I'm not working as much. And that's something that I've been journaling about for years. And that doesn't come with like wishful thinking. That comes with a vision and a dedication and discipline and turning up and doing the fucking work, the hard work, the inner work, the outer work. And sure, there gets to be a time and place where you can earn more and sit back and relax and just do nothing and earn money. And whilst that's true, nobody gets to that place unless they've done years of hard work, unless they've inherited it, won lotto or whatever. And so if you're like, oh, well, it's all right for some, it's like, yeah, they fucking worked their ass off. Yeah. So when you see somebody celebrating big 100K months or housefuls of furniture or new puppies, like, and that's the other thing. I was just like, oh my God, what did we get a puppy for? Because it like came in, and as my client said, it was like shaking all the dust off the rug. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's happened. Like the life has come back into the house. And it's like, and I'm like, it's pretty cool. We can just go and buy, like, you know, a new puppy. Like, you know, like how many people want a puppy, for example, and they can't do that. I was like, Hannah, like, look what you've actually done. And, you know, in receiving all of this, like, you know, the biggest thing that I didn't share before is that in January, I was like, Jade, can we catch up? Because it's something that I know what the issue is. I know what it is, like, but to change it is massive. But I don't know that's the solution, but I knew it was, but it's not. And it's like, can we just catch up? And in January, I made a decision. So in January, I'd known beforehand, right? Like the issue and the core thing that it always comes back to is my family. Like, how have I gone this long without living around them? Like birthday lunches, Mother's Days, Father's Days, Christmases, like, what? And in January, I knew, I was like, I have a choice to make. I either pack up my life here and I move back to WA and move back to Perth to be around my family, or I stay here and I create my life. And I know it sounds ridiculous because, like, Hannah, you've been here for like 20 years. I'm pretty sure you've created a life here. And it's so funny because I'm like, it doesn't feel like it. Like, it's weird, right? Because I think there's been that internal, like, wandering sort of lost space. There hasn't been like a full dedicated choice because I also hadn't, I want to say, grieved the fact that I think it's just been a coping mechanism or something until then. It's like, well, how does one even like grieve the loss of a family that's still living and present? Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think it's something that, like, it's probably the hardest fucking thing you'll ever do, right? It's a bit like grieving the loss of a relationship when the relationship's still there but it's not, like, or a person that you're just not in contact with anymore and that's still there but they're not, but you don't have them but it's gone. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's pretty fucking full on, really, when you think about it. And I said to Jade, I said, I either pack up my entire life here and I move back to WA, or I stay here and I create my life. And well, you know, 6 months later, we know what I've decided. And that's why all the furniture's arrived. That's why my business has just had 100K month. That's why, like, everything is coming to fruition. Everything is stabilizing. And you know, it's so funny. I think it was yesterday. It was like, finally, like, after doing all like errands or house runs, or we went to the beach and just like everyone was sorted, and for the first time in what felt like 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, oh my god, I got space. I'm like, oh, I could work, I could do this and this and this and this and this, and then I sort of hit a wall of tiredness. I'm like, I'm just gonna go to bed early, actually. But what like came through was just like, oh, what could I do with all this time? And I'm like, there's so much work I could do, right? But the thing that I wanted to do, I was like, oh my god, I just want to like sit at my new table. I want to sit, you know, and even out here, like, I haven't even got the outside table yet. And I was like, oh my god, I just want to sit outside and like write my book. And I'm like, well, that's so interesting that that's what's coming through with the next level version of me who has a house full of furniture, who's like a, you know, #1 Amazon bestseller author, is that I sit here on my beautiful Outlook and I write my fucking books. I have a beautiful client base. I have a company that is like getting more and more self-sufficient at running itself and having a massive team, well, not even massive, having a fucking incredible team that supports me in reality awareness and is able to run. Like, the business runs itself. It's like, you know, one of those days when you turn around and you wake up and you actually look what's in front of you, and you actually realize how far you've come, and you actually realize, like, wow, I don't need to push anymore. Like, wow, like, I think I've arrived. I've arrived from, like, you know, and what it is, it's like I've arrived out of the, like, needing to push and the, you know, like, what is it? I've arrived at the needing to push, or I've arrived at not enough. And I've stepped into the abundance that I've always known, desired, worked my ass off to create. And now it's just like steady and just like growing every year and exponentially, like last month. And it's just like, look what's just happened. It's like one day all of a sudden you'll wake up and it's all there. And it'll just be like, cool, now what? Next level time, baby. And then on Friday, I got the message to open my Goal Reacher program, which is my 3 months working with me one-on-one. I actually haven't opened that, I don't think, since 2018 or 2019. I used to run it all the time. And my Goal Reacher program is 3 months working with me. We do distance healing, so you've got the unlimited support one-on-one with me. We talk about healing your shit and growing your business at the same time, because that's how it works. We exponentially like propel, right, when we do that deep inner work. Like if I look at myself like a month ago, I'm like, my house was empty and it was a pet shop. And now it's a home with animals. So my Goal Reacher program is open. It's 3 months working one-on-one with me. You can click on the link in the title of this live stream. You can send me a message if you got any questions about it. You can check that out. It's only going to be open until the end of June as well, the Goal Reacher program. So I'm just going to check your comments. I was in a bit of a flow and needed to just speak that. And I just guess I wanted to say that, you know, like my last live streams, I was like breaking down, and then the solutions came in, you know. It was like I kept getting the message from God, and then my intuition was like, and ask her to do more work for you. And I was like, okay, now I have a personal assistant. Okay, I get that, right? That just happened like out of the blue. Like, you know, I have someone wanting to like come and, you know, come to my house and give massages, and I'm like, okay, that just happened out of the blue. Like, it's like when we are honest with ourselves, right? It's divine step number 1, honesty. And I was honest with myself. I knew this for a bit. I was honest with God, and then I opened up and I was honest with you guys, and then all the solutions came in. Like literally when I got off the live stream, like it was just like bang, 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 and all of a sudden like everything's here. You know, it's like, wow, I've just stabilized a whole new aspect of my life that I've actually never experienced before. And that's probably been the biggest, like, I want to say breakdown part of like realizing that I'm safe, and not just realizing it, like feeling it now, because wealth and abundance is a frequency, and it's a feeling, and it is a state of being. And I'm like, wow, I just tipped into that. I was just like, wow, here it is. This is where it is. Like, you know, like it's pretty fucking amazing. Hey, come and say hello. Come here. Malia. Come here. She's still learning to come. Come here. Come. Oh, you're being a good girl. You're coming. Come here. Come. Good girl. Oh, this is Fluffball. Oh, that's her nickname. Fluffball. Because she's literally a fluffball. She's like a big teddy bear. Polar bear, sheep, angel, fluffball. This is Malia. She's growing heaps already. All right. Leah says, I'm a single mom and business owner too. You're a massive inspiration to me. Ah, thank you. Thank you. I forget that just being myself is important, and I just haven't been myself because I've been going through all of this, like level of shame. And the other little piece on top of that, you know, when I first built my business online, and then like, you know, a lot of people close to me, family included, were, you know, saying like, stop doing this psychic shit. What do you home when I was 18? They said, you know, you need to go to uni or TAFE or do something because working in a pet shop's not good enough. You know, it's like, and then it's like, I've been running on this like, okay, well, I'm going to show you that I'm good enough, right? And now I've just flicked into a state where I'm just like, that's not where it's driving from anymore. And that's what's healing at a core level. It's like, I can just be without that being the driver. That's what's shifting, and that's fucking huge. Oh, coming in goosebumps. Like, that's huge, you know? So massive. Okay, Savat. I'm September 25, Earth years. You must be close. Super grateful on getting older. 46 this year. Scheduled to spend in Ricochet. That place. I'm not good with pronouncing names this afternoon, so bear with me as the proceeding even happened. I'm September 19, so we are pretty close. I love that. Love that. Tony says, you are doing amazingly with life. I've got to 56, almost 57, and I've really just connected to me on my spiritual side full on. I love it. I love that that's happened now for you. A house needs to be a home. Yeah. And that's what I finally have. And for a long, like, I just haven't ever for a long time, ever. It's interesting, right? Breaking a lot of, energetic patterns. Like I'm breaking away from the system or something, from the family system, which I already had for quite some time and done a lot, but this is just on a whole nother level or something. It's hard to describe. Corinne says, you sound like you're finally homesick, and that's okay. Yeah, that's really what has been coming up as well. And that's why in January, like I was like, I either move home, because I knew that's what it was. I was like, I either move home to Perth or I stay here. Like it was such crossroads on my life. It was like, I either go this way or this way. I either pack up and I move back, or I stay here and I create my life. You need to travel and walk them old tracks. And it's not that I'll never go back. And that's the thing. It's like the freedom to be able to like book a flight and like go tomorrow to Sydney or to Perth to see my family. Like, that takes a bit of preparation to put in place to be at a position to do that, from being a single mum on a pension and like where I've come from. I'm like, I know what I've been creating all these years. Been very clear on that, Not many people in a position that can do that, but there's also a lot of people in a position that can do that. Thanks, Janelle. Tony says, you should feel so goddamn proud of what you have done and achieved. We do what's best, even though it's the hardest thing ever. You're amazing, and that's why I was attracted to you, and I'm in this amazing group. Yeah. I love having you in Transcendence Reality Society so much. So much. Tracy says, so proud of you, Hannah, on so many levels. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Kyle says, to be touched, felt, and appreciated makes us feel alone when we don't receive to feel. Yeah, people receive love in different ways, definitely. There's different, like the 5 love languages. He says, you're a warrior queen, stay true. Our placement, our place for a reason and a person. Yeah, I know. Being out here on this land has been very deep. Very deep. Being down in Victoria on the land was deep as well. Felt like I was in Avalon. Like it was so like, I was off grid there. It was the next level. Here is obviously not off grid, but it's still, the land has been, that's a whole book in itself to write about the land and the connection and everything that's come through with that. So yeah. You are there for a reason, because your spirit has brought you there. Everything will make sense to you soon enough. Keep on path and feel through what you're going through. You're an inspiration, so keep it up. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm still not certain what that reason is, but I know, like I feel like I get glimpses of it, and then I'm just sort of brush it off because I'm like, don't know how that would happen, but anyway. So yeah. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of people saying I'm an inspiration. I appreciate your kind words. And reflections. The empty house for so long, I feel you didn't feel like it was your home, but now you can see it because there's no distractions. Yeah, that's also very true, right? And I remember seeing when I first moved in here, someone on the like your Instagram reel or whatever had said, like it was like this snippet thing of like what did they say? Something like, we always think we need to set up our home when we have our own home, but when we rent, and it was something like, and then we sign another 12-month lease and we sign another 12-month lease, but, we still haven't set up our home. It was like one of the first things I saw when I moved into this place. And now I'm like setting up my home and like really allowing this to be my home. It's like, it's changing everything. It's changing everything. And yeah, definitely no distractions. So it's like, oh, I can do this now. Like, you know, but even financially, like I wouldn't have been able to do this like a couple of years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is a dream, you know what I mean? So yeah. So Kristen says, you have done it all without family because you're a fucking warrior woman. Thank you. You're such a powerhouse, inspiration. I resonate with what you're saying so much. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Change is constant. It is. It is. Brenda says, I share your story. Yeah, it's huge. Teresa says, hearing this right now is huge. It's like the light just turned on. I'm so glad the light just turned on for you. So glad. Oh, thanks, guys. Can so relate to your life history, even though our situations are not the same. I can see your pain and why you do and work for what you do. Probably why I was so drawn to following you and now helping to add +1 to your business. You give me so much inspiration and I've never felt better in my entire life. Aw, thanks, Tony. Fucking love what you're doing. You're flying through the work in Transcendence Reality Society. Those who do the work are the ones who shift. Is like, you know, when I do a training, right, for my students in any of my courses, and it'll be like, you know, 11 a.m. here, or, you know, 1 p.m. or whatever it is. And then I have students on the other side of the world and they're like, it's 1 a.m. here or 3 a.m. here. And I'm like, yep, and you're going to fucking fly in your life. Because for years, I would always attend my mentors' trainings. Like every fortnight, it was like 1 a.m., 3 a.m. And I'd just get up, have a coffee. And then I'd like, you know, do whatever. I'd, you know, keep going and I just keep working. And, you know, like I'd always make the trainings and get up at 1 a.m. and do it live. You know, people are like, oh, it's at 1 a.m. I'd be asleep then. And I'm like, okay then, no worries. You know, it's kind of like, I see where you want to be in your life. And, you know, it's kind of like there's doing the work and then there's fucking doing the work. And there's like, you really want to change your life? It's like you get up and you fucking do the work and there's no excuses. You do what you can with what you have until you can do more with what you have. You know what I mean? Like there is no excuses. There isn't. Just like I said to my students on the training the other day in Trust and Intuition, I was just like, and I just need to get up and drive to the fucking beach and stop whinging about it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, well, what did I do on Saturday? I just drove to the fucking beach, didn't I? Yeah. Kristen says, oh my God, I want to rub my face in her fur. Yeah, I know. She's so fluffy, right? She's so fluffy. Check her out. It's like literal fluff ball. Yeah. We have to do the work because nothing comes for free. Exactly, right? You want to change your life? You fucking get off your ass and fucking work, man. Like, you know, I think it was, was it Kim Kardashian's thing went viral not too long ago? It was this like, you know, advice to women in business or who want a business or whatever the quote was. It was like, get off your ass and fucking work. Like, you know? So yeah, exactly that, you know? Exactly that. So if you want some ass kicking, if you want some guidance, if you want some support and someone to really, Malia, no, and tell you where the boundaries are. That's enough. No chasing the cats, remember? No chasing the cats, fluff ball. No chasing the cats, fluffy ball. No chasing the cats. She's like, what? I forgot about that 2 seconds ago. So if you need someone to show you where the boundaries are and to be able to fly and do the work and know what work is needed in the moment, and then dealing with the subconscious shit that surfaces when you receive your new levels and the breakthroughs, the breakdowns that precedes the breakthroughs, the Go Reacher program is for you. This is where I walk you through and quote unquote hold your hand as you go through and rise into the queen or king that you are, into the goddess warrior and the god warriors that you are, because the world needs you and needs everything that you are, because that's your unique life purpose. Sometimes it's hard when we don't have that guidance or mentoring, and that's what I do. So Go Reacher program is there. You can click on the link, check it out. It's only going to be open until the end of June to work with me in that capacity on the Go Reacher program. So send me a message if you've got questions about it. And Tony says, I love how real you are, and straight up, I live for that shit. Only realness here, keeping it real as always. I love you guys. Thanks for being here.